Um, just really quickly, I wanted to share with you guys. Right now, we have some great numbers, right? Traveling in June, we'll be traveling with a total of 14 individuals. In this case, that means we'll be traveling with 6 adults and then 8 students. So we have excellent numbers. In this case, tonight, we have two of the parents, sorry, three of the actual parents who will be joining us on the trip. And then parents, Mrs. Freeze and Mr. Freeze, if I can have you guys just turn your cameras on really, really quick, and then you can turn them off after that. And then if not, I get that. And then uh, also, if I can have Miss Lovo Ochoa, can I have you also turn your cameras on? And the only reason I have you guys turn your cameras on because I wanted to just briefly introduce you guys as some of the parents that will be going on the trip. That way, like I said, the other parents who are not going on the trip can just at least put a name with a face. Like I said, they will be traveling with their children. And the great thing is, like I said, I think out of a total of 8 students, we have 3 of them who are going with their parents. Sorry, a total of four parents going. So, like I said, we are definitely looking forward to this. The closer that we get to our travel dates, we will be sending out more and more information. But I'm going to go ahead and get right into the presentation. Ms. Freeze, you can feel okay. You can turn your camera off. Like I said, we'll have other meetings as well, and we'll have other opportunities, like I said, to kind of see who's traveling on this trip. But as I explained to some of you guys on the telephone, whether I talked to you directly or I left a message with you, at this point, we are still going. These are our tour dates that we have set up. These are the dates that we had discussed with the EF tour representative.
You're frozen, Mr. McLeod.
I apologize. Am I
Oh,
back on?
yeah,
All
you're
right.
back on.
Okay. Just keep your windows open. Obviously, the date that we have requested is June 18th through the 27th. Fingers crossed, it would be great if we can have those dates, but also we kind of worked on the idea of the earliest that we would travel would be June 15th. And then the latest that we would return would be June 30th. Like I said, as we get closer to our departure time, the closer that we get to June, those dates will be etched in stone right now. Like I said, they're tentative. So like I said, as we get closer, we will definitely have those dates. And then we'll have all that travel information as well. But like I said, as long as we have or you guys have those dates kind of etched out or reserved for that particular time, then I think, like I said, I think everything should be good to go. Um, Beyond that, just a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. Um, is a couple of deadlines coming up. I figured it would be better for us to meet earlier rather than later. The first deadline that we have coming up is our passports and documentation for our particular trip. Really, the only documentation that we need to make sure that our students have and the adults on the trip have is the passports. Obviously, yes, we want to make sure we travel with the actual passports. And Miss McKnight has shared with me not the actual passport card, but the actual passport. Can you explain a little bit about that, Miss McKnight, and your experience?
I'm on mute, sorry. Yes. So there are two forms of passport documentation you could obtain. One is a passport card, and usually you could use that to like go into like the Bahamas, or maybe like you could use that for a cruise if you're not using a birth certificate. And then you have, of course, the passport book where they stamp. So there was an incident maybe 2 years ago. not with our traveling group, but with our sister traveling group. And we met up in Italy, and one of their students was left behind. The student obtained a passport card, and they wouldn't allow her on the plane because they said that that wouldn't clear in Italy. And she, they said that they would go ahead and try to see if they could, of course, accommodate her and see if she can get a book in enough time that she would still be able to make the trip. Long story short, she was not able to make the trip at all. So they were not able to expedite a passport in the 11 days for her to actually make it on the trip. So just we always make sure we let people know always the passport book with the pages and not the card.
Thank you so much, Ms. McKnight, for sharing that. So the other thing is, hopefully at this point everybody has their passport. For the people that I'm looking at that are in the meeting right now, it looks as though that you guys have already submitted your passport, your child's passport, and your passport online. So, like I said, I think we're good to go with that. For the individuals who weren't able to make the meeting or are listening to this recording eventually, please make sure you submit your passport information for in the to-do tab by February 28th. I will definitely be reaching out to you individually to make sure that you get that done. Like I said, that way EF Tours has that on file, and then that way they can go ahead and make sure, the proper documentation is already in place before we start to travel. Okay. The next thing, and I do apologize, like I said, I'm trying to navigate in this virtual world using Zoom once again. So, entry requirements. On your end for parents, you should be able to see under your travel page, you should be able to see there's different tabs. So like for instance, I know there's an itinerary tab, there's a payment tab, but there is a travel requirements tab. Um, I'm kind of displaying what that would look like on your end. I have taken the liberty to actually look into that for you guys, including myself. The only travel requirement that there is, if you happen to click on it, is it'll say that in order for us to leave Germany and enter into Poland, that the students must have the website said they must have a Form V or a Form C visa. So I looked into that. I talked to the EF representative yesterday, and I brought that to their attention. And she reached out, and the information that she was given is the only information that they suggest that we have would be the parent authorization form. The parent authorization form is something that basically it's a formal form that parents will have to fill out. It have to be signed by both legal guardians as well as notarized. Um, so the thing with that is I'm not going to send that out anytime soon because it cannot be signed and notarized before 30 days. Sorry, it has to be done 30 days before the trip. It cannot be done earlier. But I will definitely make sure that we are within that window and, to make sure that I can reach out to each parent to make sure that they're aware of what needs to happen. Basically, it's a consent form saying that you are aware that your child is traveling without their parent. So, like I said, that's really the only documentation besides our passports that I would be traveling with to make sure, like I said, that we're able to go freely from one country to the next. And it really was just leaving Germany and entering Poland. But they said it shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, they said to be safe to make sure that we have that. So, like I said, yes, Miss Ochoa, I see that your hand is raised. Go ahead, you can turn your mic on.
Hi, question. So you said it's a consent form for the parents that are traveling. Do we still have to sign it? even though we're joining them?
That's a good question. I would venture to say probably not. I mean, you're with your child, but I will definitely double check. I will double check with the specialist. That way I can answer your question, and give you a definite answer. But like I said, I would think that because you're traveling, with your child, then you should be fine. But like I said, I want to make sure that I have that in writing from, EF Tours, that you wouldn't have to do that.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, so, like I said, that can't be done until 30 days before we travel. It can't be done earlier. So, we will cross that bridge as we get closer, to that. Okay. Next in our agenda, we're going to talk about rooming, and I'm going to allow Miss McKnight to share that.
Yes. So typically with EF tours, students room anywhere from 2 to 4 rooms. Most likely it'll be 3 to 4 rooms, 3 to 4 to a room. Um, Rooming lists can be set up with Mr. McLeod. We usually room students based on the gender that's marked on their passport. We don't do co-ed rooming, so it would always be the boys with the boys and the girls with the girls. Um, but it'll be like a decent sized hotel room, and they will have separate beds in some, and there are some occasions where they have king size or queen size beds. Very rarely do they have that. They usually have a bed per student. But it is a room, it is a student travel or a traveling hotel that they use and they frequent. So all of the hotel rooms are very similar where they have multiple beds. It usually comes with a shower and a bathroom, one bathroom per room. For the adults, unless you automatically call EF and preface that you want your own room, they also do the same thing. They'll room you two to a room by gender. So if they're, for instance, even me as a chaperone, if I don't say, hey, I want my own room, they'll go ahead and match me automatically with a parent, another parent, female parent, and we'll be two to a room. You could request to have a room with your child, and they have that as like a family room, but I believe you need to have, I'm not sure, but I want to say it has to be like three or more, and you can request a family room, and that's no charge. But if you do want to upgrade parents and have your own room, there is an upcharge, and it depends on location. So we would have to find out how much per night. Students cannot upcharge. Students will always be two to a room and or 3 or 4 to a room.
And then, so for instance, with just talking to our specialist yesterday, um, uh, Mr. Freeze and Miss Freeze, obviously you guys will be rooming together. I'm sure there's probably not any problems with that. And then, as we have it right now, it would be, Miss Lovo Ochoa, you would be rooming with, Miss Gammon. Miss Gammon, unfortunately, is not, joining us. She's not with us currently. But as Miss McKnight had stated, in the event that a parent, doesn't feel comfortable with that, we would just need to know ahead of time. That way, EF, could reach out to you, and then, that could be scheduled. But in this case, that would be, an additional cost. So, like I said, these are just some of the things that kind of need to be taken care of before the 28th, and it's really for the adults on the trip. And then, like I said, we're not gonna worry about the grouping of the students at this particular moment, because, like I said, we will, as we get closer, we'll begin to reach out and see, do students have a preference, about who they would like to room with. And so we'll do everything that we can to accommodate that. And then, Miss McKnight, if you can lead us into the next slide about
Can I ask you a
tipping.
quick question?
Oh, yeah, sure,
So,
sure.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're
I
fine.
think you said at the beginning there's 6 students, and is that right? And
I Correction, six parents. Sorry, there are a total of two adult chaperones, myself and Miss McKnight, the
Okay.
teachers on the field trip, and then there's a total of four parents on the field trip. That makes
Okay.
for a total of eight. Uh, excuse me, yeah, yes, eight. Sorry, a total of six parents. Sorry, my numbers are incorrect. A total of six adults, but there's a total of eight students on the
Oh, eight
trip.
students. Okay. And how
Yes.
many, what is the breakdown of boys and girls?
The breakdown between boys and girls, we're looking at there are one, two, three, four, five, six boys, and then there are two girls.
Gotcha. Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
I will add that was because that sparked my memory that I will add that because we are a smaller group, EF will pair us with what we call a sister group. So it'll be another school with kids who are similar in age, and we'll pretty much share our tour bus and we'll be staying at the same hotels. And because of that, a lot of the times, what they do is they'll group the kids or they'll actually take the numbers of the entire group, the sister group and our group, into consideration, and they'll tell us this is your block of rooms, and your block of rooms may be four 4x4s, three 3x3s, and two 2x2s, and it's up to the chaperones to figure out. So sometimes your student may be rooming with another student from another school as well, but it's all by gender, and that does come up. Um, a lot of the times they will accommodate where we have enough rooms where we can, if we have two 2x2s and we have two female travelers, we can easily say, well, that's our block. We'll take one of those rooms. And if we have four boys, we can just easily say we have a 4x4, we'll take one block. And then the other sister group can figure out their rooms. But there are occasions where the kids do mix and um, they are living for the time being in the same rooms. And a lot of times they request that too, because once they get to know each other on the trip and they meet new friends, they ask, can I, instead of rooming with someone from South County, can I room with these girls? I met them and I like them and we're friends now, That happens too.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying all that. And that's part of the experience, right?
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, exactly. That's the best part. I lost one. Oh, I didn't lose a kid, but she was on my group last 2 years ago. And at one point, I was like, are you ever going to be around me? Because I feel like it's not fair. And she kind of like was with that one group of friends from the other group. And now it's to the point her mom told me that they kept in touch and they've actually flown to Florida because our sister group was in Florida and she's actually spent like a week with the friend in Florida. I'm like, wow, okay, so I guess they really are friends now. Right. Um, that was interesting.
And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, parents. I should have mentioned this earlier. When I said that Miss McKnight is the expert, I know I mentioned to some of you individually, but Miss McKnight, how many EF tour trips have you gone on at this point now?
Um, uh,
Too many to count.
four so far.
So she has a wealth of knowledge. So that was as I said, like I said, told some of you guys that was the reason why I selected her. I'm like, Miss McKnight, this is my first trip. I said,
Right,
I need you. I don't care what you're doing. You are going.
right,
That way we can make this successful. But
right.
Miss McKnight, you're going to talk about
hmm
tipping.
Yes. Okay, so tipping on tour, we usually collect tipping money. Um, our last meeting is usually an in-person meeting, and we collect the tipping money. We have different tour guides. We have our personal tour guide who is with us the entire trip from start to finish. They meet us at the airport, and they're with us, and they leave us at the airport when it's time to go. They are in the same hotels with us, so they're always there. And then we have our individual specialty guides. So no matter where we go, like for instance, if we're going to a museum or something, there's a specific guide, and we tip them as a group. So usually there's a certain amount of money allocated for each guide and also the bus driver because we have our of course our own charter bus and a driver. So it's usually for our tour director, the one who's with us the entire time, it's usually $8 per person per day. For our bus drivers, it's usually $3 per person per day, and our bus drivers may change. So we usually kind of like give them their tip as they come and go, depending on what country we're driving into. And then for our specific local guides, our specialty guides, it's usually $2 per person, per activity. I will say that we wait to the end or the last meeting to collect because once we get in our tour guide and they get a hold of Mr. McLeod, they usually specify how they want the tip money. So one year, our tour guide said all American dollars, that's what they prefer. So we just gathered the money and it was easy that way. Another year, they specified they wanted euros. So I had to literally go to the bank maybe about a week or so before and change out the money and to get to euros so that I could allocate the money that way. But we usually do that when it comes to like the tipping, the last meeting. So it's $120 already allocated. So that means that they've already done all the math for us. We usually kind of like have a cushion. So it was a little under 120, but now it's 120. And I'll tell you why. My experience 2 years ago when I went to Italy was they gave us a certain amount and we had a great time. It was a great tour, but our tour director wanted us to have a really good time, so she arranged for more individual local guides. When that happened, they didn't plan for, we didn't understand, and we didn't know ahead of time, and so we didn't have enough funds for every single tour, local tour guide. So I had to tell her, okay, well, I'm gonna probably have to take some money from yours because we only came with this amount of money because we knew we had this amount to give out. Long story short, we were able to go ahead and pay out everything, but I had to kind of like come out of my pocket a little bit, and then EF had to reimburse me. So to do cushion, a little padding, we usually ask for a little bit more just in case they decide, because they have autonomy to kind of figure out if they want to do something else with us. Or sometimes they ask, hey, we have some extra time in our schedule. Would you guys like to go see something? Our first year, they asked us if we wanted to see a Broadway show. Um, and it was like, it's going to cost this amount of money, but if you want to see a Broadway show, we can do that. Um, at the end of the tour, Mr. McLeod, if there's money left over, we'll just go ahead and divide it amongst the members and give you back whatever's left over in the tipping money. So that's always a plus. Last year we had $18 left per person, I believe. And we decided to do something as a group because we wanted to go ahead and go big or go home, right? So they found something for us to do. It cost literally $18, and we were like, let's use it. Everybody agreed, and we were able to just, dish it out that way. Um,
If if we end up, or if you end up in a situation like that, is it possible to like blast out an email to the parents and we could just Venmo or PayPal some money to you? I
Mr.
mean, you don't
McLeod,
want to. I wouldn't personally want anybody to miss out on a great opportunity for $10, right?
right?
For lack of having $10 or something like that. So, is that a
That's
Yeah, I
possibility?
mean, definitely, that's the flexibility. I'm very flexible in that. If worst comes to worst and I need to, come out of my pocket, I'm fine. I will be budgeting my own money just in case of for emergencies. Who knows what may happen. It might go a little over, but the good thing is like at least the EF Tours is really good with budgeting that out. And then, like I said, it now comes down to the tour director. But no, I thank you for bringing that up because, what other opportunities are children going to have where they're traveling abroad, traveling to these historic places, and as you said, they miss out for $10. Like
right.
worst comes to worst, I'd be like, I got this, guys. Like if your parents get me, they get me. If they don't, that's fine.
Mhm.
It'll come back to me somehow. But no, definitely, if need be, that can be arranged. But yeah, I definitely would not want our students to miss out just because of, something small like that.
Yeah.
But great question, great question.
Yes.
The ne
And so,
Oh, go ahead, go.
quickly, spending money. So EF says you should expect to spend anywhere about $30 to $60 per day. I'm gonna be realistic. I did not spend that much money. The kids have lunch on their own, so they can spend the money however they see fit. Unless they plan on, but I had students that loved to like buy knickknacks, and they wanted to bring home everything to everyone. So they were able to go ahead and do that because they did budget the 30 to $60. But honestly, I spent a lot of my money on lunch, and I got a lot of the knickknacks from street vendors. So I was only spending €1, €2, €3. So you can do whatever you feel like it's right for you and your family. I suggest not giving your students $60 cash per day. Never have that much cash in your pocket. I recommend that they have some sort of card because it's just easier to keep track of. And if they need it, they need it. Of course, they should have some money in their pockets, like for small vendors and stuff like that. But I personally did not use $60 a day, ever.
And I think that's you bring up a good point, Miss McKnight, is, she kind of let the cat out the bag a little bit early, and it's no problem. But no, you're fine, Miss McKnight. What I have up on the screen right now is just one suggestion of what parents can do to help their child budget. Basically, it serves as a debit card. It's through Visa, but it's through this company called Till that EF Tours has a partnership with. If you want to, this is just one tool that you possibly could use. You can add money to the card. That way you're monitoring the amount of money that your child is spending. And if for whatever reason your child loses the card, it can be easily shut down. I'm not going to read all the benefits on there, but the idea of no foreign transaction fees, that's on there as well. But like I said, I think the big thing is that peace of mind. You can load money on it at all times. And then, like I said, the other thing, or as Miss McKnight had already stated, just having a small amount of cash. Like I said, this will be something we'll talk about later on. But I say the small amount of cash because depending in what country we're in, for instance, when I was in Poland back in 2019, very new to me, but the idea of having to pay to use the bathroom, public restrooms, like I said, that's like maybe at that point it was like two two zlotys. That was the currency that they used in Poland. But we will definitely, as we get closer to the trip, we'll have some more information about what is the best currency to have to take with us, or for your child to take with them. But just like I said, that's something that as a family you guys can discuss what would be the best way to go about spending and how much your child should take. Um, so I'm going to go into the next slide. And really, the next slide is really some of the things that we just need for you guys to do before February 28th. The big ones, like I said, I don't think it affects anybody in this particular meeting right now, but it seems as though, for the most part, the people who are in the meeting right now have already submitted your passports. We will definitely, I'm going to reach out in the coming weeks. There's no really deadline for this, but I would like to get this done sooner rather than later. But I'll definitely give you a hard stop or a hard deadline, later on in April. But I figured if I get it out early, that would be better. And that would be really if there's any health needs or anything that we need to know to accommodate the health and well-being of your child. There's a whole form that EF has printed out. I can get that out to parents. I'll send that out in an email. I don't know exactly when, but like I said, we don't need that until we're actually taking off. What I'll be doing in the meantime is beginning to put a binder together with all emergency numbers, with all medical needs and so forth. That way, like I said, we're not waiting to the last minute to get prepared. We're already prepared to take off, sooner rather than later. And then, like I said, the other thing would be preparing tipping money. We're not going to need that until our next meeting, but I'll give you a heads up, probably about maybe 2 weeks to a week heads up. Hey guys, just want to bring to your attention, please make sure you have this before our next meeting. So like I said, kind of giving you guys some just quick heads up. But for the most part, looking at this list right now, the big one really is just making sure we have the passports taken care of. Like I said, I think on this end we're good. On your end, parents, some things that you can be looking at from the EF side of things is your traveler's account. It'll let you know the balance that's there, how much is remaining. I think everybody's set up on automatic payments, so you're good to go. That's coming out of your account. Um, Also on that website. You can find your itinerary. That is tentative. Things may change, but I'm really, really hoping that it stays intact, especially for our when we'll be in Poland. The idea of visiting Auschwitz. As of right now, it shows on our itinerary that we'll be there for I think a whole solid day. Just to give you a quick heads up, that is if it is done in its entirety. How I've done it in the past, it will be Auschwitz 1 as well as Auschwitz 2. Um, but like I said, I have some other things planned ahead of time to kind of maybe introduce not only the travelers, but also the parents to kind of give you some background on these different places that will be traveling. Also, the other thing that I suggest or that EF suggests is that just make sure you're staying on top of your payments. But I think that's already taken care of because you guys have that done automatically set up to your account. And then the last part, like I said, it looks to me as though many of you guys have already submitted your passports, so we're good to go. I definitely will reach out to the parents who haven't submitted their child's passport yet. And then for the most part, I think we are good. Um, Here is the itinerary for we'll have two other meetings before we travel. In this case, the next meeting that we'll have unless there's an emergency meeting and the parents need to meet, that's not a problem, or you need to reach out to me, that's no problem. I can do that. But collectively as a group, we're looking at our next meeting with the following itinerary. We'll probably meet at the end of March or at the beginning of April. I think that definitely would be a good time to meet. And then there would be a meeting roughly about 2 to 3 weeks before we depart. Obviously, our departure date, we're looking at June 15th. Um, in between these two dates, and I'm gonna uh, put this out there for any takers. Like I said, if we meet in March or early April, I know I discussed this with one parent, um, but I would like the opportunity, if it's possible, and I'm still looking into this, so please bear with me. I would like for the opportunity for us all to meet. Um, as a group, both the parents that are going on the field trip with their children, and then also the parents who are not going on the field trip with their children. The reason I suggest that is because what I had in mind is I would like for us as a group to go to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in DC. That way, you have a frame of reference. I know everybody's level of interest, or I should say, people's background knowledge on the Holocaust may be different, but at least an idea for what your child is going to see while we're traveling to some of the sites while in Poland, Germany, as well as the Czech Republic. The ability to see that, like I said, I think this is definitely a life-changing trip for them to be able to participate this. But like I said, the ability also to reach out to the parents to say, hey, listen, when your child's having these conversations with you as they return, right? Or even these are good conversations to have with your child before they go, kind of some things to expect. Like I said, I've had multiple trainings from both the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum as well as as well as Yad Vashem. The Yad Vashem is the Holocaust Museum through Israel, sponsored by Israel. I've worked with both of them very closely, but like I said, sharing in that experience and knowing how to do that with students at this age group. For instance, I know there's on the field trip, there's going to be four of my previous students that have already have a significant amount of background knowledge from this, from what I've taught in class. But like I said, I want to be able to kind of share this with the parents as well, who are not going on the trip. Um, for the most part, that's about it. That's all we have for you. Please, if you have any questions, like we'll be on here. If you need to talk, want to discuss anything, please feel free to stay on here. You know, if you have to go, I totally get that. Please reach out to myself. My cell phone number's on there. And then, like I said, my personal email address is on there. But like I said, if no one has any other questions, you guys definitely are free to go. And thank you so much for your time, and thank you for allowing your child to participate in this field trip. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for taking the time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good one, you guys.
You too.
Oh, I should stop the recording, right?
Uh,